What's up, guys? We are back, and I'm looking at some more NFL plays for tomorrow's Sunday slate. Super excited to have a video for you guys today and tomorrow, going over some NFL plays for this week's slate on week one. Feeling pretty good. We started out the NFL season with a bang, cashing this 8x here over in the Cowboys game. This video is pre-recorded, so I do not know how Friday Night Football went, but hopefully that did go pretty well. We'll see. Hopefully it was an offensive game. But I've got some pretty nice Sunday plays for you guys in this video. Let's hop in and let's keep cashing. I've got a couple plays for you guys in this video here, but if you guys want a third play tomorrow, be sure to leave a like on this video here. If we get to 125 likes, you guys will get a third play in tomorrow's video also. While you're done leaving a like, also subscribe to the channel with those notifications on. That way you get in before these lines get bumped to get removed. Now, before we get to the free plays, don't miss out on checking out the DubClub if you have not yet. This is where you get all of my plays sent straight to your phone and also access to my Discord community. You can see all the different testimonies and winners that we've had over in the DubClub. But the best part is that right now it is 50% off for a limited time. You can see right there, if you just go and click on the link in my description, this will pop up right here. It'll be this green banner that pops up. Click on the claim button that is right behind me, and you guys will be able to get in on that 50% off promo for the first month, or you choose the option of 60% off the next 3 months. There will be two different options for you to choose from. Like I said, we have already cashed an 8x on the NFL this year, and we've already been cashing time and time again in the MLB. You don't want to miss out on those plays too. And also, with NHL and NBA right around the corner, two of my best sports as well. So you are not going to want to miss being in the DubClub because we seriously crush it every year for the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. Seriously, you guys are missing out if you do not join the DubClub. I truly do believe that. You also have my Discord chat, though, where you talk to me and other members if you do join the best package of my DubClub, which is the 50% off offer. That is for my best package. You access to the community chat to talk to me and other members. If you want to ask me any questions, just add me in the chat. I'll respond to you pretty fast. You also have my contributors here posting their plays. That comes with Asmies, Emo, Elo, Nerd Alert, Astronaut Doe, and Nev, all posting their plays. Asmies has some golf plays, you have some WNBA, you have some soccer, some esports, some KBO baseball plays. It's a very, very good place to be. So don't miss out on joining if you have not already. The link is available in my description for that offer of 50% off of your first month or 60% off of the next 3 months. With that out of the way, let's get to these free plays. Make sure that you play responsibly at your own risk. Leave a like on this video here and subscribe if you have not already with those notifications on. That way you don't miss out on future videos. Let's get to these plays. The first play on the PrizePicks board for tonight's slate or tomorrow's slate is going to be over in the receiving yards category here. And I'm going to go with the Cleveland Brown and David Njoku over 48.5 receiving yards. He really should be at 4.5 receptions on PrizePicks. If he bumps down for any reasons, I would probably prefer the 4.5 receptions. But if he's going to stay at 5 receptions, I prefer the over 48.5 receiving yards. I think if he has 5 catches, he should have hopefully about 50 yards. But you can see here what he did last year. He was over in 5 out of 11 games last year. However, he has a new quarterback, and that's going to be Joe Flacco playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, which is very good for David Njoku. They seem to have a very, very good connection. And you should, if you haven't seen, there's a video of David Njoku celebrating while Joe Flacco was announced as the starter for the Browns. So already feeling pretty good there. But there's an analytical side to this, which makes me feel pretty good about backing David Njoku today. And that is, of course, going to be the matchup for David Njoku. He plays the Cincinnati Bengals today, or tomorrow, depending on what time you guys watch this video. But they averaged 236 receiving yards allowed per game last year. But the tight ends, that's 65.5, which ranked 30th in the NFL, the third most allowed by an NFL team. How did he do against the Bengals last year? He had 76 and 66 receiving yards. He went over only 5 times last year, and 2 of those were against the Bengals. How did other tight ends do against the Bengals last year? Pat Freiermuth went crazy. You also have these other ones like David Njoku, of course, going over. You have Chiggy also with 8 for 59 in that game. It should be a pretty good spot for David Njoku in my eyes. Quarterback connection seems to be there, at least from what we've heard. They didn't play together last year, but the year before, you can see his track record when playing with Joe Flacco. He had 6 targets in all of these games, with 8 targets in the last 4 games, as you can see there. He had 17, 91, 104, 44, and 134 yards receiving. So with the Bengals giving up so many yards and so many catches to opposing tight ends, and with the connection likely being there for David Njoku, it makes a lot of sense to me to take the over for David Njoku and receiving yards in week 1 here against the Bengals. That's my first play. We're going to get to some more in just a second. Now, before we get to my next play, if you've not already seen Rebet, it is one of the newer apps out there, and you could actually make picks for teams on this app. Like, for example, you could take the Bengals money line or -5 or +5 for the Browns, for example. You can combine them as well, as you can see here, It's a very, very cool app that's available in a lot of states, as you can see right here. And if you use my promo code DOMG when you sign up, you could actually get a $100 purchase match when you sign up using my promo code DOMG on Rebet. There will be a link available in my description if you want to get access to that promo. They, of course, even have players on here as well. Like we can go to the Falcons and Buccaneers game, for example, and we can scroll down. We can find like the completions here for Baker Mayfield. You take them all the way to like 34 plus for like a bunch of plus money, or you can even take them all the way down to like 20 plus right there if that is something that you're interested in. It's a pretty cool app that's kind of a newer concept. If you're interested, you can check it out for yourself in my description. Use my promo code DOMG again for that $100 purchase match. All right, now getting to my next play here over on PrizePicks. We're actually not going to go with another Cleveland Brown, but we are going to go with two players right now from the same team. And that's because I want to give you guys some options here. There's a couple of things you can take for these two players here, but I'll be going with the Washington Commanders today. That is going to be Jaden Daniels. You can take him either over 21 pass completions in my eyes, or you can take him over 21 fantasy score. It's really up to you. If you really trust his legs and want to focus on that, I don't mind taking the fantasy score on the over for Jaden Daniels at all. Or if you think he's going to score at least 2 touchdowns, whether that's rushing preferably, or 2 passing touchdowns, then I'll kind of lean the fantasy score. If you think there's a chance that the Giants are pretty competitive in this game, and Jaden Daniels will throw the ball, I would say maybe the pass completions then instead. It's really kind of up to you, and there will be different payouts. But I'm going to pair him with his receiver here in Terry McLaurin over either 4.5 receptions or 7.5 receiving targets. These are really the only 2 options you can take if you want a decent payout over on PrizePicks. So you got to choose one of these basically between Jaden Daniels' fantasy score or completions, and then McLaurin with his receptions or receiving targets. Now, between McLaurin here, the receptions I feel like is more likely to hit personally, but it is a slightly less of a payout if you pair him with Jaden Daniels, if you're kind of following me here. It should be around a 5x if you take Daniels and McLaurin for receptions. I think receiving targets, and then I think if you take the receptions, it's going to bump down to like 4.75x, if that kind of makes sense, because of how correlated these are. So for the sake of the video, I'll take the completions here and the receptions on the over here. So it pays out 4.75x over on PrizePicks, but if you take the receiving targets instead, it pays out 5x, as you can see here. So I'll give you guys the options between all of them here. Then you can factor in receptions there for him, but if we go to Jaden Daniels and take his fantasy score on the over instead, I will show you guys the payout for that. We got to find Jaden Daniels. There's his fantasy score. It pays out 5.25x right there. If you take his receptions on the over with his fantasy score. So there's a bunch of different options here for Jaden Daniels, and depends on what type of payout that you want. I just really like the idea of stacking the Commanders together in this game because I like the matchup so much against the Giants. I know I just kind of threw a lot at you guys here, but it's just really take one of the 2. Completions or fantasy score, or receptions or receiving targets for these players. Pick one and rock with it. I'll give you guys all the info on these though. Completions, 60% rate so far for Jaden Daniels, at least last year. Fantasy score was also 60% of games. Now, Washington is going to be a 5.5 point favorite, and in wins last year, he covered his fantasy score in 64%, where his completions, if we look at that there, we're going to go back to completions, then change that to wins, he was over in 57%. But he did hook twice last year in a 38-33 win against the Bengals, and an 18-15 win against the Bears last year. So, better hit rate in terms of hit rate and wins, at least for the fantasy score, if that's kind of a deal breaker for you, I guess. Or the deciding factor, I should say. But passing completion percentage last year, they ranked 3rd last year, the Giants. They allowed the 3rd most highest completion percentage last year, although their pass attempts ranked the 3rd worst because they were losing so many games and they were playing down in so many games. But this game, the Commanders are going to be at home, and they are 5.5 point favorites in this game, so take that how you will. Last year, though, Jaden Daniels, for his completions, he had 23 and 15 against the Commanders last year. In the home game, he did end up covering that line. If you look at the fantasy score against them last year, though, you can see how he did. He missed in both those games in terms of fantasy score. He had 13.44 and 19.86 in those 2 games, as you can see. Now, Terry McLaurin, his reception targets here, he only had a hit rate of 40% last year. In wins last year, though, the receiving targets went up to about 57%, as you can see there. But now we take a look at Terry McLaurin and his receptions here, and we can look, he has been over his line of 60% of games, but in wins last year, the hit rate did actually move to 64% of games that he covered in. So you can kind of see the little bit of the difference there. Receptions allowed, though, in terms of receivers last year, the Giants actually ranked 16th at 12.2. I'm pretty sure we can look at the targets too. Actually, no, you can't for whatever reason on Outlier. But you can definitely see the correlation between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, I will say, though. Like you can see on this game at 9:15 against the Giants, like the November 3rd game, those guys are both going to miss that line anyway because they both went under, which is the whole point of correlation. Sometimes entries are going to go 0 for 3, or they're going to go like 3 for 3, for example, because that's just how correlation works. Sometimes the offenses perform, sometimes they don't, but almost always these guys will be on the same page. Not always, but a lot of the time they are going to be on the same page and either both go over or both go under, and you saw that right here. On the 15th, both these guys did go over. You can see right there, Jaden Daniels went over his completions with 23, while McLaurin had 6 catches himself. In terms of targets that game, he had 8, so he also covered his target line in that game. As you can see here, Jaden Daniels over completions, and then Terry McLaurin 4.5 receptions. If you pair all those together, 4.75x. But now if you actually take Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, on the over for receptions, which he also did cover in that game, pays out 5x, as you can see there. So it's really up to you which one you want to take. In terms of hit rate, I think the best option is going to be Terry McLaurin and his receptions. But if you want to take on higher risk for just a slight better payout, then you could take the over 7.5 targets if that kind of if that payout difference makes a difference to you. So it's really up to you. Again, if you have not yet joined the DubClub, do not miss out on this 50% off offer that is going on right now. You could also get 6% off of the next 3 months if that option is better for you. Again, that'll cover you for the rest of the MLB season and also the start of the NHL and NBA season, which again, you are not going to want to miss out on. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys hopefully in the next video. Let's cash out on this entry tonight. Best of luck. If you want to submit over $5,000 of profit on PrizePicks, watch this video on your screen right here.